Wonderful students, I want to share something life-changing with you today. English fluency is within your reach, and you can achieve it much faster than you believe. Many of you experience anxiety when attempting to speak English. You stumble, pause, and sometimes avoid trying altogether because of your fear of errors. Perhaps you've studied English for many years, yet when conversation time arrives, your mind goes blank. The vocabulary is there. Your reading comprehension is solid, but speaking leaves you paralyzed. I deeply relate to this struggle, having faced the same challenges when learning new languages myself. I understand the frustration of searching for words and feeling lost when native speakers talk quickly. Today marks the end of that struggle. I'm revealing how to master English through natural, effortless methods. Starting now, abandon everything that has made English seem difficult. Release yourself from complicated grammar rules, perfectionism, and especially fear. Remember, fear, not lack of knowledge, is the greatest barrier to English fluency. Fear of mistakes, embarrassment, and judgment hold you back. Consider how you acquired your native language. Did you memorize grammar textbooks? Study vocabulary lists? Of course not. You learned through listening, mimicking, making errors, and using the language daily. This natural approach is exactly how you'll master English. Don't just study English, live it. English shouldn't be a 1-hour daily exercise that you later forget. It should permeate your daily existence, heard, thought in, and spoken consistently throughout your day. I understand your question, but how? Don't worry. I'll guide you step by step through this transformative journey where English becomes second nature. Let's begin. Transform your English mindset. The crucial first step is mindset transformation. When you believe English is difficult, your brain resists learning. When you believe English is easy, learning accelerates dramatically. Watch how babies learn walking. They fall repeatedly, but persist until walking becomes effortless. Language learning follows this pattern. Mistakes aren't failures. They're essential learning tools. If you're not making mistakes, you're not truly learning. Repeat after me. English is simple. I can speak English. I improve daily. These affirmations reprogram your thinking. From today forward, never say, "My English is terrible," or "I can't speak English." Instead, affirm, "I'm learning and growing every day." This small mental shift creates tremendous learning momentum. Create your English environment. With your new mindset established, immerse yourself in English. Many believe fluency requires living in English-speaking countries, but that's a myth. You can create an English-rich environment anywhere. Begin by changing your phone's language settings to English. This simple act surrounds you with English vocabulary throughout your day, gradually familiarizing your brain with the language. Next, Start thinking directly in English. Currently, you likely think in your native language before translating to English, making your speech hesitant and unnatural. Start with basic English thoughts. When morning arrives, think, time to get up and brush my teeth in English instead of your native language. While preparing breakfast, think, I'm making coffee now. During your outdoor walk, notice the sky looks beautiful today. Initially awkward, this practice becomes natural with persistence. Soon, English thoughts will flow automatically. Another powerful technique is speaking to yourself in English daily. Stand before your mirror and have conversations. Good morning. How are you feeling today? I'm feeling energetic. I have several tasks today, but I'm excited to tackle them. Though it may feel strange initially, this practice dramatically improves your speaking abilities without performance anxiety. The more you practice, the more confidence you'll develop. Try labeling household items in English. Place sticky notes with English words on your furniture, appliances, and belongings. When you see these labels, speak the words aloud. If you see your bookshelf, say, "These are my books." The books are arranged by author. When passing your refrigerator, say, "This is where I keep my food fresh." This technique trains your brain to recognize and produce English vocabulary instinctively. Imagine preparing a complex dish. If you rush through each step without pausing to ensure ingredients are properly incorporated, you might end up with something inedible. Similarly, by allowing your brain time to process new language concepts, you enable deeper understanding and retention. In my Japanese studies, I noticed something remarkable. Concepts that confused me one evening often made perfect sense the following morning after a good night's sleep. This wasn't magic. It was my brain's natural consolidation process at work during sleep, organizing and integrating the new information. The emotional dimension of language learning. Let's explore something equally crucial but often overlooked: the emotional aspect of language acquisition. Our emotional state profoundly influences how effectively we learn and remember information. When you associate language learning with positive emotions, your brain releases neurotransmitters like dopamine that enhance memory formation and recall. Consider a personal example. I still remember an entire conversation in Japanese that occurred during a hilarious misunderstanding at a restaurant in Tokyo. The emotional impact of that moment, the laughter, the connection with locals, the resolution of the confusion, cemented those phrases in my memory far more effectively than hours of flashcard study could have. This is why incorporating entertainment into your language learning is so valuable. Watching movies, reading comics, or listening to music in your target language creates positive associations that make your brain more receptive to learning. When I began watching Spanish telenovelas, my vocabulary expanded rapidly because I was emotionally invested in understanding the dramatic storylines. Engaging multiple senses for deeper learning. The science of language acquisition reveals another powerful strategy: Multi-sensory learning. Our brains process information through different sensory channels, and when multiple channels receive related input simultaneously, learning becomes significantly more effective. Instead of simply reading new vocabulary, try engaging as many senses as possible. Say the words aloud, auditory, write them down, kinesthetic. Look at images representing them, visual, and even incorporate gestures or movements, proprioceptive. This creates multiple neural pathways to the same information, making it easier to recall later. I developed a technique I call sensory immersion for learning vocabulary. For instance, when learning food-related terms in Italian, I would visit an Italian market, physically handle the ingredients, smell them, sometimes taste them, all while repeating their Italian names. This created rich, multi-layered memories that were far more durable than simple word translation pairs. Think of it like creating a detailed map in your mind. The more landmarks and routes you add to this map, the easier it becomes to navigate the language landscape. With multiple sensory connections, if one retrieval path fails, your brain can access the information through alternative routes. Curiosity as a learning accelerator. Let's discuss another fascinating aspect of language learning: the power of curiosity. When your brain encounters something novel and interesting, it releases chemicals that enhance attention and memory formation. This is your brain's way of saying, "This seems important. Let's remember it." Cultivate genuine curiosity about the language and culture you're studying. Ask questions about why certain expressions exist or how grammar rules evolved. When I was learning Portuguese, I became fascinated by how certain words reflected Brazil's complex colonial history. This curiosity made learning feel less like work and more like exploration. For example, discovering that the Portuguese word saudade expresses a concept that has no direct English equivalent, a deep longing or melancholic nostalgia, sparked my interest in how languages capture unique emotional experiences. This curiosity led me to learn dozens of related words and expressions, creating a rich web of understanding. The key is to follow your natural interests within the language. If you love cooking, learn through recipes. If you enjoy sports, follow sports news in your target language. When learning feels like discovery rather than obligation, your brain becomes a much more willing participant in the process. The social nature of language. Acquisition. Human language evolved primarily as a social tool, and our brains are specifically wired to learn language through social interaction. This explains why immersion is so powerful and why conversation practice accelerates learning dramatically. When I joined a German conversation group, my progress accelerated remarkably. Despite years of formal study, it was these casual weekly meetings that transformed my halting German into something more fluid and natural. We would share stories, debate topics, and even play word games, all activities that engaged the social language centers of my brain. During these interactions, my brain wasn't just processing vocabulary and grammar. It was learning the rhythm of conversation, appropriate response times, cultural references, and nonverbal cues that are impossible to learn from textbooks alone. Each conversation partner provided slightly different input, helping my brain build a more comprehensive model of how the language functions in real-world settings. Research confirms this experience. Studies show that social interaction activates unique neural pathways compared to solo study. When you engage with others in your target language, your brain simultaneously processes linguistic information, social cues, emotional content, and contextual details, creating richer and more robust language memories, optimizing your brain state for learning. Let's explore how different brain states affect language learning. Our brains operate in various frequencies or waves depending on our activities and mental states. For optimal language acquisition, a state of relaxed alertness, characterized by alpha brain waves, creates ideal conditions for absorbing and processing new information. You can deliberately induce this state through simple practices. Before your study sessions, try a brief mindfulness exercise. Close your eyes, take 10 slow, deep breaths, and allow your body to relax while keeping your mind gently alert. This shifts your brain into the alpha state, where learning becomes more efficient and enjoyable. I once participated in a research study examining how meditation affects language retention. Participants who spent just 5 minutes in guided meditation before vocabulary practice showed significantly better recall compared to those who jumped directly into studying. This simple preparation ritual can dramatically improve your learning efficiency. In my own practice, I developed a pre-study routine of brewing a specific tea, playing soft instrumental music, and doing 2 minutes of deep breathing. Over time, these cues became so associated with language learning that simply smelling that particular tea would prepare my brain for efficient study. Embracing imperfection in the learning process. One of the biggest obstacles to language learning isn't cognitive, but emotional. The fear of making mistakes. From a neuroscience perspective, this fear activates your brain's threat response system, inhibiting access to your prefrontal cortex, where complex language processing occurs. Understanding that errors are not just inevitable, but valuable parts of the learning process can transform your approach. When you make a mistake and receive correction, your brain actually forms stronger neural connections than if you had gotten it right the first time. Each error helps your brain refine its internal model of the language. I remember a particularly embarrassing moment during a presentation in French where I accidentally used an inappropriate word, causing the audience to burst into laughter. Initially mortified, I later realized I never forgot that word or its correct usage again. The emotional impact of the error created a particularly strong memory. Rather than seeing mistakes as failures, recognize them as feedback that helps your brain adjust its understanding. This mindset shift from perfection to progress liberates your brain's full learning capacity and makes the journey more enjoyable. The power of play in language acquisition. Neuroscience reveals something truly remarkable about learning through play. It activates the brain's reward system, releasing dopamine and other neurochemicals that enhance memory formation and reduce stress. This is why children learn languages so effectively through games and playful interaction. As adults, we can harness the same neural mechanism. Language games, role-playing scenarios, and creative activities engage different neural pathways than formal study, often bypassing our self-consciousness and allowing more spontaneous language production. One of my favorite techniques is what I call character immersion, creating an alter ego who speaks only in your target language. My Italian persona, Gabriella, is more expressive and dramatic than my everyday self, and inhabiting this character frees me from some of my usual inhibitions when speaking Italian. During a language retreat in Tuscany, our group spent an evening playing improvisational games entirely in Italian. The combination of laughter, creativity, and social connection created ideal conditions for language processing. Many participants reported remembering expressions from that evening far better than vocabulary they had deliberately studied. Storytelling as a memory enhancer. Our brains have evolved to remember stories far more effectively than isolated facts or vocabulary lists. Stories engage multiple brain regions simultaneously, creating rich networks of association that enhance recall. This is why narrative-based learning is so powerful for language acquisition. Instead of memorizing disconnected words or phrases, try embedding new vocabulary in meaningful narratives. When learning Russian, I created simple stories connecting new words to characters and situations. For instance, to remember the Russian word okno, window, I imagined a character named Okno who always sat by windows. This narrative approach transformed abstract vocabulary into memorable scenarios. I developed this technique further by building an ongoing story where new vocabulary would appear as characters, settings, or plot elements. Each study session, I would continue the story, incorporating recently learned words. This not only improved my retention, but made studying genuinely enjoyable. I looked forward to discovering where the story would lead next. The cognitive science behind this approach is fascinating. Stories provide contextual cues, emotional engagement, and sequential structure that all serve as memory aids. When you later need to recall a word or phrase, your brain can trace back through the narrative to retrieve it. Creating your personal language environment. A powerful way to accelerate language learning is to create a rich linguistic environment around yourself, essentially priming your brain with constant exposure to your target language. This ambient exposure helps your brain recognize patterns and acclimate to the sounds and rhythms of the language, even when you're not actively studying. Consider transforming parts of your daily routine to include your target language. Change your phone and social media settings. Listen to podcasts during your commute, label household items with sticky notes, or put on foreign language cooking shows while preparing dinner. In my case, I transformed my morning routine to include Korean language input. My alarm played Korean music. My shower playlist featured Korean podcasts. And I would read simple Korean news headlines over breakfast. This immersion created daily micro-exposure that kept my brain engaged with the language, even during busy periods when formal study time was limited. Research shows that this kind of regular, low-intensity exposure is remarkably effective for language acquisition. Your brain processes this background input even when you're not consciously focusing on it, building familiarity that makes formal study sessions more productive. The cognitive benefits beyond language skills. As we near the conclusion of our exploration, let's consider how language learning transforms your brain beyond just adding a new communication skill. Learning another language literally reshapes your neural architecture, enhancing cognitive flexibility, attention control, and even problem-solving abilities. Neuroimaging studies show that bilingual and multilingual individuals develop greater density in brain regions responsible for executive function. This neural growth translates to improved multitasking abilities, enhanced focus, and even delayed onset of age-related cognitive decline. I noticed these benefits personally when tackling complex projects at work after several years of serious language study. My ability to switch between different types of tasks, maintain focus during interruptions, and approach problems from multiple perspectives had noticeably improved. These cognitive advantages emerged as unexpected bonuses from my language learning journey. This perspective can provide additional motivation during challenging periods of language study. You're not just learning to communicate in another language, you're fundamentally upgrading your brain's operating system, developing neural resources that benefit virtually every aspect of your cognitive life. Practical integration into daily life. Let's make these neuroscience insights practical with some concrete strategies for integrating language learning into your everyday life. Remember that consistent, varied exposure is more valuable than occasional intensive study sessions. Create what I call language moments throughout your day. Short, focused opportunities to engage with your target language. While waiting for coffee, practice describing the people around you. During your lunch break, listen to a short podcast. Before bed, write 3 sentences about your day. One technique I've found particularly effective is task pairing. Connecting language practice with routine activities. I practice Spanish vocabulary while brushing my teeth, listen to French podcasts while exercising, and review Italian phrases while waiting in lines. These pairings create sustainable habits that ensure regular language exposure without requiring additional time in your schedule. The beauty of this approach is its sustainability. Rather than treating language learning as a separate activity that competes for your limited time, it becomes integrated into the fabric of your daily life. This integration creates the consistent exposure your brain needs to develop fluency naturally, cultivating patience and perspective. As we conclude our journey through the neuroscience of language learning, I want to emphasize the importance of patience and perspective. Understanding how your brain processes language helps you set realistic expectations and appreciate your progress, even when it feels slow. Language acquisition follows a natural neurological timeline that cannot be rushed. Your brain needs time to build neural pathways, strengthen connections, and integrate new information with existing knowledge. This process unfolds according to biological rhythms that vary from person to person. In my own language learning journeys, I've experienced plateaus that lasted months, followed by sudden breakthroughs where everything seemed to click into place. These plateaus aren't failures. They're periods when your brain is consolidating knowledge behind the scenes, preparing for the next leap forward. Remember that learning a language is not just about acquiring vocabulary and grammar. It's about developing new neural networks that fundamentally expand your cognitive capabilities. This biological transformation requires time, consistent input, and patience with the process. Closing thoughts and encouragement. As we bring our session to a close, I want to leave you with some final thoughts and encouragement. Learning a new language is one of the most rewarding journeys you can undertake, not just for the practical benefits of communication, but for the profound ways it transforms your brain and expands your experience of the world. Approach your language learning with curiosity rather than pressure. Be playful in your practice. Celebrate small victories. Connect with others who share your interest. Most importantly, trust in your brain's remarkable capacity to adapt, grow, and master this complex skill. Imagine yourself 6 months from now, understanding conversations that currently sound like an indecipherable stream of sound. Picture yourself reading signs, following movies without subtitles, or having meaningful exchanges with native speakers. Your brain is perfectly equipped to make this vision a reality. It just needs your consistent attention and patient guidance. I believe in your capacity to master a new language, and I hope the neuroscience insights we've explored today will make your journey more effective and enjoyable. Remember that every word you learn, every conversation you attempt, and even every mistake you make is physically reshaping your brain in fascinating ways. Thank you for sharing this time with me. I'm Sophia, and I wish you an exciting and fulfilling language learning adventure. Until we meet again, keep exploring, keep practicing, and watch and wonder as your brain transforms through the magic of language acquisition. If you found this lesson helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Also, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any new lessons. And I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below. See you in the next video.